Literally the best. Very good. Okay. So good morning, everybody. Um, I'm sure you can tell that we're not in the Golden Acre studio. This isn't one of those like fake backgrounds that they put out when you're doing a Zoom thing. The funny thing is, I'm looking around. I have no idea where my camera is. There you are. Hello. So as you can see, we're not in the studio. We're out and about. Beautiful, beautiful sunny day. And, you know, honestly, the most beautiful thing is all of the volunteers behind us, our beautiful city skyline behind us. And what we're doing here is we are going to talk about planting for pollinators. And funnily enough, when Brandy and I, we came up with a schedule for the webinars, before we found out the planting day that we were doing with Ecologic, the City of Calgary, Eagle Lake have helped out, Calgary Heart Society are here. We've had City, CTV, CBC, like news organizations have come. 20 volunteers, Tim Hortons provided some. It's been incredible. And Brandy and I were like, well, you know, we have this planting day, we have this planting morning, it's on a Saturday. Looks like we have to cancel the webinar. The webinar today was planting for pollinators, and we're planting native plants, and one of the main reasons for planting native plants is benefiting the pollinators. And we said, wait a second. So, yeah. Maybe if today's webinar was like how to kill native plants, we might have skipped it. But considering it's not. So, yeah, good morning. I hope you're enjoying this day. Amazing, amazing weather this weekend. If you are outside, don't forget your hat. Get some SPF on. I had mine on first thing this morning. Got my hat on. I don't have water here, but I have been drinking water and coffee all morning. Mainly coffee, if I'm being honest, but I have had some water. I have had some water. Legit. Coffee? Yeah, so what I've heard is that coffee, it won't, people always say it's a dehydrator. It's not. It won't hydrate you as much as water, but it will still hydrate you. And we just did a first aid program, and that's what the first aider said. First aider said the best thing to hydrate is water. If you're in trouble, then you do electrolytes and water. But if you have tea and coffee, that will also hydrate somebody. So to everybody who's always like, you drink too much coffee and not enough water, I say, checkmate. Your move, suckers. So anyway, back to what we're doing here, which is planting for pollinators. So, you know, a lot of times, you know, we hear that pollinators can become a bit of a, you know, pardon the pun, buzzword, and people go, oh, I'm planting for pollinators, but why? What is the purpose? What are we doing? Why are we doing it? And one of the reasons is absolutely our entire program of food, what we eat, is really based on pollination. I don't remember it exactly. I don't have any notes with me today because we are live. But, you know, there's some stat out there that if pollination stopped, there'd be worldwide starvation within a year. Like, literally game changer, game over. So pollination is important on a huge scale, but we're not looking at that. Most of us aren't farmers. Most of us aren't growing, you know, massive acres, square kilometers of food. We're just planting some flowers and a couple of tomatoes and a pepper in our back garden. So why is it so important for us? And it is because we are part of a chain. And I want my tomatoes to grow. And I've told this story before. This must have been 10 years ago. And I was living very close to where we are. By the way, did I even say where we are? I didn't even... So we're in Rotary Park, and if you don't know Rotary Park, you can see it overlooks the city. This is the Northeast Lion, and it was 82 years of freezing and thawing and vibrations from the traffic on the Center Street Bridge. They moved it here. I know that from the top of my head. I didn't just read that off a vignette. But these were the original Center Street lines. I know there's one in front of City Hall. There's this one here. I'm not sure where. I think there's two more somewhere in the city, isn't there? Yeah, those aren't the original. The ones that we're looking at down on the bridge right now. I believe this is the original. I believe City Hall is the original. Maybe there was only two. I don't know. I wasn't here. But we're in beautiful Rotary Park, and I used to live close to here, just in Mount Pleasant. And a neighbor came up to me one time, and he asked how we had so many cucumbers and tomatoes and blah, blah, blah. And my garden was literally just covered in bees, all different types of bees, because of the plants that I put out to encourage them, because of, and here we're planting native plants, and I'm going to get to that in a couple of moments. But mine were just, your typical perennials, peonies, iris, annuals. I had sunflowers, I had nasturtiums, all of the regular stuff, nothing outlandish, nothing special. But I had a ton of it, and I had hanging baskets, and I had stuff on the ground, and I had pots everywhere. My grass was clover and dandelion and lawn, and I had pollinators, and this gentleman had nothing. He was out spraying Killex all over his garden. He had a couple of small pots at the back, and they just weren't getting pollinated because the pollinators didn't see them. So one of the important things about pollination is if we're growing vegetables, if we're growing cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, anything that has a flower, that we need that flower to be pollinated so then we can consume it, we're going to need pollinators. That's your apple trees as well. So from very small up to big. And attracting the pollinators in is the biggest challenge that a lot of people face. So when we say we're planting for pollinators, that is one of the reasons why we're doing it. We're doing it for a self-serving purpose. I want my veggies. I want them in abundance. Always sucks when you see a pepper, especially because they normally put out the small white flowers. And it's happened to me, and I have a lot of pollinators. And you see the flower, and it's there, and then it starts drying up, and it dies, and there's no fruit behind it. And you're like, huh. But a lot of times I do get that. So a few might die. Most of them are pollinated. So I'm not overly worried about it because I have the pollinators in. So how do we attract pollinators? What are we looking at to bring pollinators in? So color and spacing. Basically, what you want to do is, I'll say one thing about being in the studio here, okay? It is so there's doggos running behind me. And I got to focus on talking about bees. I'm like, this isn't attracting dogs. Yeah, I know, but maybe I just give them a Timbit. Oh, yeah. It's not my fault that maybe I should face, no, that way wouldn't help. Anyway, we want a lot of color. And what I always say is, if you think of it like this, when you're driving down the highway, okay, and you got the kids in the car, whatever else is happening, and you guys are hungry, what do you see? You see those big signs, and they're up, and they're 50, 60 feet, and they're neon, and they're lit, and they're turning, and that's where we go. Now, there could be another diner on the other side of the highway with no sign. The food could be better, there could be more of it, it could be cheaper, anything, but if you don't see it, you're not going to go. Same is true with pollinators. We need to get them into the garden. And just like us, when the pollinators come, they're not going to come and, you put up a big hanging basket, big, huge hanging basket, verbena and calibrachoa and everything spilling out of it. The pollinators are like, oh, fantastic. And they come straight over. They're not going to hit that and leave. While they're there, they're going to look around and see what else is there, just like we do. We see a sign, we go to check it out, and then we go, oh, well, that's cool. I didn't know that store was there. And, I didn't know, while I'm here, I may as well get gas. And you're going to hit up all of those facilities while you're in that area. You don't go and just get the food and be like, well, we got to go somewhere else for gas. I got to look for the gas sign. You get everything you need, and that's what the pollinators are doing. So we put up hanging baskets. We have big, huge pink peonies in front of the house. We put out zinnias, pots of osteospermum, anything to get those pollinators in, and then we can lure them. And Brandy and I have talked about this with companion planting. Companion planting isn't just putting in some marigolds to keep bugs away. It's also about attracting pollinators to the tomatoes, to the peppers, and bringing them into your garden. So, that is kind of what we're looking at when we're talking about it. And then there are some other things too. And one of them that I want to talk about as well is keeping our yards safe. And what I mean is we have a tendency, we see caterpillars and we go out and we spray them with chemical sprays. We see, something has eaten holes and we go, oh my God, that must be a caterpillar on our cabbages. And we spray everything and we kill all the caterpillars. Those caterpillars turn to butterflies, and butterflies are major pollinators, as we know. So, most people now, I get it back in the day, everything was a caterpillar. Anything that was, this big and kind of fuzzy and walked on a leaf was a caterpillar. And now we know that there's all different types of things. There's webworm and there's caterpillars and there's different types of caterpillars. And what are we looking at? Google Lens it. Find out if it's something that maybe you don't want to kill. Maybe it's part of the, a monarch butterfly or a cabbage white, what they call them in England. And you're like, maybe I don't want to kill them. Maybe it's a matter of, okay, well, I'm sacrificing one cabbage. I'm going to cover the rest with bug netting. I'm going to stop them. I'm going to pick them off by hand and put them on this. Sometimes we just have to kind of be like, okay, bon appetit, bugs. If something, I've said this before, and I'll say it probably until I die. If something isn't eating your garden, you're not part of the ecosystem. We want things eating our garden. And too many times we go out and we spray everything. I see people spraying their dandelions and whatnot with harsh chemicals while they're still in bloom. The pollinators are going to land on that. So keeping our gardens safe, keeping our gardens, making them habitable for the pollinators requires effort on our part. I get it. We all love the butterfly. We're never a big fan of the caterpillar, but we're not going to get the butterflies without that. So plant the sacrifice plant. Plant a couple of cabbages, a couple of lettuce. Let them eat it. For the monarch, and this is going to tie in beautifully to the native plants, plant milkweed. And you can plant the milkweed and the monarchs will love you for it. And then you're planting native plants. You're attracting pollinators. You're feeding them. You're keeping them off your plant. So much win. So kind of look and see what's happening in your garden and see, what direction you want to go in. Because I get it, for years I was, and it, it's tough. We have to learn and we have to change. For years I was, garden has to be clean. Everything has to be clean. Got to prune the dead branches off. Everything has to be, I never shaped. Everything was allowed to kind of grow into itself. But dead branches and leaves had to be raked and stuff. And now I'm building bug hotels. I'm leaving spurs on my tree for the birds. I'm encouraging the native pollinators to stick around. And that was, kind of a mentality change on my behalf from learning from other people. Myrna Perman was a huge person. What she taught me about leaving the branches, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, so yeah, birds are pollinators for sure. And I was that guy who, if there was a dead branch, and I've advocated for it, cut the dead branches off. I've actually changed. It used to be the 5 Ds. Get rid of your dead, diseased, dead, diseased, damaged. No, there's another bad D. Dead, diseased, damaged, dangerous. Dead, diseased, damaged, and dangerous are the ones you need to get rid of, and then desirable you prune for your desire. So dead, I'd prune it off. Myrna was like, well, the birds need those branches because if they can't sit there and overlook the property, they get scared, and that's what they're looking for. And then she had all of the pictures of the birds sitting on the end of a dead branch, and I was like, guilty. I've just learned something. So we need to make those changes. Birds are an important part of the pollination process. I have areas now that I know the native bees can go into and find some shelter and find somewhere to go. So changing our behaviors and making our property safe and desirable for pollinators, it does require it. You know, I know there's going to be people out there, and it's, believe me when I tell you this, I know how hard it is to be like, I can absolutely leave a big pile of leaves on my lawn, and then the time comes to leave the big pile of leaves on your lawn, and you're like, nah, no, I don't think so. And I'm 100% guilty of that. I have changed. I have learned, because it is very important. So we want to attract them in. We want to make our yard a safe space for them. And on that, putting out bee and butterfly feeders, watering stations is always a good idea. Brandy and I have talked about this at length, where we see bees in trouble. They're exhausted. It's hot. There's no water. They're parched. They have no energy. You pick them up, be that with a stick or in your hand, whatever. And I get some people don't like picking them up in the hand. I do. I've never been stung doing that, but I could be. Could be. That was a terrible pun. I'm taking that one back. You guys don't get that one. But give them some sugar water. But you can put out a feeder. Can I see your Tim Hortons cup for a second, Brandy? So even something that I wouldn't recommend using a Tim Hortons cup, because they do fall apart, but only something this big. Fill it with stones up to here and fill it with water so that the bees can land on the stones and drink. That's it. That's all they need. You don't need anything extravagant. Once they find it and it is fresh water, you top it up once a day, twice a day. They will tell their friends. They will tell people, hey, go there. There is water. Like there's food and water. There's plants. And then if there's shelter, some of those bamboo rods, wild areas, branches left in trees, hey presto, your yard is now a safe and attractive place to pollinators. And that's how we get them. Any animal, any wildlife, anything that you want to come onto your property, every animal needs the same things. Need food, water, shelter. Okay, and if that's what you're trying to do with birds, with pollinators, if you want deer on your property, those are what you need to look for. Can you provide what it needs? So that is how we get the pollinators in. We now have them established. Feeding them is real easy. Just they will eat your flowers. Or eat your flowers. They won't eat your flowers. They will eat the pollen from the flowers. They will take the nectar. Now we're going to talk about a couple of different pollinators. An expression that Brandy loves is the dirty pollinator. And I think it evokes such a fun image in our brains when we talk about a dirty pollinator. So a dirty pollinator isn't a bee in a trench coat running around your property being like, hey, okay? A dirty pollinator is an animal that isn't actually designed to pollinate. It has no need of the flower. Sand beetles, ground beetles are a great example. Ladybirds are another good example. They have zero interest in pollination. But they're coming. Oh, that's such a beautiful dog. It's like a border collie. It is a border collie. It's Jimmy. Oh no! I told you. Yeah. And there's Jenny. Hey, love. Yeah, so that's my dog, Jimmy. People who actually thought, Jimmy, come here, bud. Hi. So this is, can people see him? Okay, so this is the elusive Jimmy. I know people have heard me talk about him. Jimmy, do you have anything to say to your audience? This is the elusive Jimmy that people have heard about. And my wonderful wife, Jenny, just came to visit with him. Hey, love. Go see Mom. I'm totally distracted. I am. He drooped all over the mic too. Well, oh yeah, we were talking about dirty. Jimmy's a dirty pollinator. Oh, yeah. Yep. So, what we look at when we do that is Jimmy. Jimmy, get over there. Come here. Sit. You gonna sit? Sit. Good boy. So I feel like this whole seminar has just gone sideways right now. But anyway, yes. So dirty pollinators are bugs. A dog can be a dirty pollinator. They run by a shrub and they get the pollen on them, and they keep running by. They're shaking the pollen off. It's getting into other flowers. From their fur, it's getting into other places. So a dog could be a dirty pollinator. It's normally beetles. It's normally bugs. Ones like that we're looking at as dirty pollinators. But dogs, birds, any animal can be it. And they are also important. And then my favorite one that I love to tell people is the mosquito. And in no way, shape, or form am I advocating that we got to love all mosquitoes and not hit them because they're an important pollinator. A mosquito only bites us for blood to lay her eggs. That's it. That's what she needs them for. The rest of the time, they're feeding on plants. And my favorite stat about the mosquito is that if there were no mosquitoes, if we did get rid of them, people are like, get rid of all mosquitoes, get rid of all cockroaches. If there were no mosquitoes, there would be 80% less chocolate in the world. So either the price would skyrocket or it just would not be available. And I like chocolate. I'm willing to take a couple of bites and some scritches for some chocolate. But mosquitoes are an important pollinator, and the male mosquito doesn't bite at all. The female only bites to lay her eggs. The rest of the time they're pollinating. So there are so many things out there that, when we look at, we don't get, I'm so distracted. Sorry, Jimmy, sorry. I'm so good. But when we say pollinators, I think the massive majority, myself included, it's like when Brandy and I talk about seeds, okay? I'm going to draw a parallel. When we talk about seeds, and Brandy and I have mentioned this to each other, we instinctively, immediately start talking about growing food. We talk about spinach and lettuce and peppers and tomatoes. We rarely talk about flowers, but there are a lot of people. We have a full section of our seed thing that is just flowers, and a lot of them sell. But we immediately go to food. Same when we talk about pollinators. When I talk about a pollinator, I'm not thinking about my dog running by. I'm not thinking about a sand beetle. I'm not thinking about a mosquito. I'm thinking about all the different types of bees. I'm thinking about butterflies. That's where my mind goes. So you're not, it's not wrong to think of that. It's totally normal. But there is so much more to pollination. Wind is an important pollinator. Rain. There are so many factors out there. So I'm going to tie it in now to what we've been doing here today, which is native plants. So we've turned this area around the statue here by planting plugs. So this is a plug of a native grass. I don't recognize this one. Do you know what that grass is, Eric? That's the Foothills Rough Fescue. So this plug here is exactly what this southern slope would have been well before it got developed, and we ripped it up, and the invasive grasses came along, and the Kentucky blues and whatnot. It would have been this, and this is what we've planted. We've also planted some other ones. And we don't think about it, but grasses flower. June grass is a very important grass for the pollinators. It blooms in June. It gives them somewhere where they can hide. Gives them somewhere where they can bunker down. So grasses are really, really important for these pollinators. And we're turning this area back into a native grassland. Again, I already mentioned who was part of it, but with all of our excellent, excellent members. And that is another thing we can do, because when we're thinking about how to attract pollinators, again, if somebody comes up to me on the spot and said, how do I attract pollinators, name the pollinators, I'd say you need lots of flowers, bees, and butterflies. That's my canned answer. But it's not true. We need more than that. We need grasses. We need trees. We need water. We need shelter. We need so many things for these pollinators in order to get them into our garden. And now let's talk about how endangered some of these pollinators are. because they've lost their food. And one thing I want to say here is everybody is familiar with the honeybee. For a long time, we heard about colony or hive collapse and whatnot. And I'm not knocking it. Honeybees, they're important. A lot of people have them. But honeybees are essentially a farmed animal. They did a ton of work on preventing that from happening. Honeybee population is doing fine. It's coming back even in the wild. The wild honeybees are doing it. And don't get me wrong, I don't dislike honeybees. I'm not like suckers. But the other bees, the solitary bees, the bees that are out there doing their work, that don't get the we like honeybees because we like honey. The leafcutter or the mason bee, they don't give me anything. I don't get honey from them. They don't pollinate my plant and give me honey. They just pollinate my plant. But they're very important, and a lot of people, we've done a lot of damage to their habitat. And just to give you an idea, I read a stat, and whenever I bring up these stats, by the way, I really should actually start citing them. I don't just find them randomly on Google. I always go to university sites. They're always my favorite ones to go to, or, bee blogs, like Deep Dive with the Nerds, my people. And I read a very interesting stat, and it said, if you release a wide open area filled with diverse plants, all different types, and you release honeybees, they will pollinate between 5 to 10% of the plants that they come across. You release mason bees or leafcutter bees, and they will pollinate 80 to 90% of the plants that they come across. Right there, that tells us where the importance is. Honeybees are absolutely important. Certain bees will not pollinate certain plants. I believe it's the magnolia tree. The critter, Jimmy. Come on, buddy. The pollinator that pollinated the magnolia no longer exists. It was pollinated by beetles because the magnolia evolved before there were bees. So there is so much of a network that we barely know of. But the takeaway from this, because I'm not going to just give you this lecture and not give you anything actionable. Diversity is key. A lot of times we think of a bee, you ask somebody to draw a bee, they're going to draw the same bee every time. I do it, well, I can't draw, but we think honeybee, bumblebee. Okay, oh, that's a bumblebee. I wonder what type of bumblebee it is. Or, oh, it's a honeybee. Or we have the people that go, oh, no, they're all wasps. Wasps are also important pollinators. Yay, wasps. But when we look at all of the different pollinators, all of the different types of butterflies we have here, all of the different types of bees. There's like 20 different types of bees in southern Alberta. And that number, I could be well off, but I'm fairly certain I've read that. So many different types of them. Diversity is key. And we've talked about that at length. The more diverse our gardens, the healthier they are. And that is one of the reasons. It's not just for the health of the plants. It's not just because we're worried that, if I get powdery mildew, it'll go through all my tomatoes or zucchinis. I need all these other plants. It's also for all of the other species that are out there, the pollinators, the birds, everything. The more diverse of an area we have, the better. So I'm going to wrap it up because I am extremely distracted and there's a ton of stuff going on and I'm excited to get back to my friends and I can see people are finishing and it's been an amazing day. But looking at doing some native plants, come talk. We actually sell bees at Golden Acre. Part of our beneficial bugs, we sell bees and worms and nematodes and all kinds of stuff. And come and release some bees and just learn just a smidge more about them because you won't be disappointed. And without them, we don't get the tasty tomatoes that we want. We don't get all of the fun stuff we want. So planting for pollinators and working with the city. And I wish if you haven't been to Rotary Park, please come visit our bed. But from where I'm standing right now, I can count 17 trees in bloom. Okay, just from where I'm standing. I'm not looking behind me. I'm just looking here, and I can count 17 trees in bloom. Plus, we're doing a grass bed behind us, a native bed. So kudos to the city for taking this and really running with it. All of the volunteers who came out today, the people that are caring, and we're getting there. And I do think we will make a change. And yay, pollinators, because they're awesome. And I can't wait to meet some new bee friends this summer. So I hope you all have an amazing day. Come visit Rotary Park. Come visit us at the Acre. And keep an eye out for the pollinators, okay? Bye, everyone.